his 4K TV. I mean, the 4K monitor, which the three of mine, you know, sync together through G-Sync stuff is the one.
Can fit the width.
Yeah. I mean, that 4K is pretty amazing. Even though everything in Windows is not that big on it, so you have to scale everything up.
4K looks beautiful.
Like,
You've seen changes.
oh yeah.
Watching that on 4K.
That looks so weird. Like, it's just, you know, like, I have some friends that went out, like, the minute that 4K TVs got to a point where
They're like $5,000.
yeah, well, no, the thing that they could afford, they were $2,000 or $3,000. They went out and bought them, and then I finally asked them, I was like, "You spent $2,000 on that. What are you gonna watch?"
There's no content.
There's nothing for it. Yeah, it's like even Blu-ray, which they're supposed to be coming out with 4K Blu-ray, that's still a year away, and none of the gaming systems can ever play anything at 4K. You know, they
Actually,
don't.
PlayStation's coming out with a new console.
I've heard they're going to. I'm talking about the ones now. Yeah, you can't stream anything in 4K through the gaming system. What do you mean, like 4K TVs and stuff?
I bought a year ago, like basically the last generation of plasma.
That's what I got too.
Because I can't stand the way that the newer LCDs look.
Well,
and then soap opera effect, you know, like I can't stand that.
I was gonna say it wasn't even that for me. It was I game a lot on it, and the motion blur on some of the lower end LCDs are terrible.
Plus,
and
I want good blacks.
Yeah, and the refresh rate on a plasma is like 600 hertz, so you never get any.
I got a
choppiness
60-inch Samsung plasma for like $700. Basically, now you can't get plasmas because they're all done. But
yeah, mine's a Panasonic. I bought it the year before.
The Panasonic ones were awesome, but by the time I was going to buy one, you couldn't get the Panasonics anymore. The one I have
Panasonic was the one that like pioneered plasma.
Yeah, the one I have is awesome. It's very good, but
yeah,
I got a 44-inch video at LED 120 hertz.
well, I wanted to with a high refresh rate in the 240.
I got mine there too.
The 240 hertz for anything over like 32 inch was just outrageously expensive. Which and then they still have 3D TVs. Why the hell do they have 3D TVs?
It's like, oh wow, 3D now.
There actually is a lot of 3D content still coming out though. But
well, the thing that
Nobody wants it.
you know,
Yeah,
it's really funny. It's like a friend of mine, his dad, he considers himself as like this like technology genius. I think he's kind of a moron, but he was talking about like, oh, how 3D TVs are going to be the wave of the future, and I was just like, I can guarantee you $100, I would put money on it. They will be dead within 3 years. And sure enough, they died in 3 years. I was like, anything that you have to put on your face that will hurt your eyes after 20 minutes of watching it is not going to take off.
Like anything like the 3DS.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
Like never used the 3DS.
Yeah.
all right, let's go so we can get out of here. How's that? Sorry. Once we close the YouTube down, then we can talk, so we're not just wasting.
But David wants to be in this conversation.
He's at work.
Yeah, sure.
Someone's on it.
Oh, Aaron.
So, homework 7 is due Thursday. I graded homework 6. No, it's actually Tom. I gave feedback on homework 6 under a wiki page on your Taiga account. I just created a homework 6 comments and commented on it. A lot of them basically just say like, great job, because a lot of these were really good.
Teacher comment here.
I have a feeling mine was not very good. I was a little drunk when I did it. I'm just going to throw that out there now. I'm pretty sure.
You'll see my comments. I saw some super impressive data flow diagrams, I've got to say, that were, I mean, you could stick them in our textbook just about. They looked like that. So, I mean, the bar was high from about 3 people, and then they were kind of spread through there. But for the most part, they all got the point across. Like, I'm not, like, super concerned with our diagramming technique and all that. But the idea is just to get a good sense for how the system, your system works.
Did you see that I updated my photos?
Photos.
Yeah. I updated the budget photo when I got bored.
Oh. It actually is nice, the ones that people did photos rather than the little 8-bit icon or whatever, you know. But
I got bored, so I put a picture of Morgan Freeman.
because then it's easier for me because I get that image in my head and I know whose project is whose.
I think my picture is Samuel L. Jackson.
So homework 7 is the ER diagram and the physical database design. I talked last week I was going to add a little bit to this. I did a little, but it's not super specific. That still looks, it's like out of focus, or blurry.
It looks better from here.
Does it? From my angle, it looks like blurry.
What's because you're supposed to look at your screen?
Looks awesome on my screen, but
Looks better with the lights off.
Yeah.
It might just be that.
The important thing
how much was that 1080p projector?
a lot.
It's amazing, $1,500.
No, well, that's what they wanted for it. And it's like 1,300. You got it for like $699.
It's amazing how like you actually gotta like look for widescreen projectors nowadays.
It would be a lot better if we could redo the wiring, but I'm not pulling all of that cabling out of the ceiling that comes all the way down through there,
Yeah.
up that cord behind you.
There's no reason to do any of that when there's a new building. It's just, they need to be wired with the consoles like they have on main campus. It's so much nicer, and then dual monitor out so that,
You think they're gonna do that for this school?
No, they don't even fix the windows. They do elements.
well, they will hopefully when it goes to the new building.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because
Saying as of now, they're not gonna.
when I teach on main campus, almost uniformly, I can walk into any room and it's exactly the same setup.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier because I don't have to know 10 different rooms and how the systems work and all that.
We were in 8015. The monitor that they have in there is about this wide, about that tall, and it's got like a pen, like a stylus input attached to it. It's
We have one lab in our high school that has square monitors.
Yeah.
They're LCDs, but they're literally, they're so narrow, they're square. Not even 4x3, you know, they're like a 1-to-1.
But it's like, most of the professors I have over there and stuff, they have, like, my one professor, Michael, has a surface book. And that's why he carries that around, plugs it in, and just writes on the thing, and that's all.
Yeah, and you can plug it in, you get it on the monitor and on the projector. Like, this is all like seamless. It's like set up really good. Okay, anyway, enough. Not complaining, it's just. So the first part, you're gonna use whatever you want to diagram the lucid chart. It's probably a good way to go. You're gonna make an ER diagram and put it in Taiga. What do I call it? Taigo here.
okay, we won't see.
Basically, if you did your data flow diagram, the entity relationship diagram should be the data stores of your diagram, right? I prefer crow's foot notation, but traditional notation is fine as well. So that's part 1. Part 2, create a physical database design based on your ER diagram. Place a link to your design. I just want to be able to see it in Taiga. If you're not going to use a database, design whatever storage mechanism you are going to use. And I say here, I'm giving you leeway about how to do this. You can either implement in the database of choice, and I don't think Tom would mind. I think Tom's had it. What?
I was like, I'm getting an echo of what you just said.
Sorry, I figured I could use it for my car while I'm driving.
There you go.
So,
That's actually pretty good.
15 minutes late.
So this is Tom's physical database design past the ER. His ER, he did it in Visio. I couldn't open it on my laptop because I don't have Visio. That's one thing I ask. If you're going to use Visio or something, save it as a spreadsheet or I mean, not as a spreadsheet, as a PDF so that I can open it because I don't use Visio.
People really do use Visio.
Yeah, 2 people did Visio on the data flow diagrams. So I mean, it's there. It's out there. Tom is, has used it for a long time. So like this is Tom's ER diagram. So this is along the lines of what you're shooting for, and then he just took it into. It looks like he just did SQL Server and just made his database tables in here. So you can do it that way, or if you don't want to actually make the tables yet, you can do it in basically any kind of notation, and I say it here, that lets me see your tables, your keys, and your relationships. So we had that in databases where you list the table name and then you list all the fields, you underline the keys, you connect them with relationships. I just need to be able to see what your structure of your database is. So that's part 2. So I'm giving you leeway. It needs to be understandable by me looking at it without like spending a ton of time trying to decode what you're doing. I put a bunch more references under last week's materials. So creating an entity relationship diagram, which goes through the crow's foot, how to create an entity relationship diagram. I tried to find good articles. This one is pretty brief. Here's another one. It goes through crow's foot and talks about the different models and how to create them. This one shows, this is like the traditional notation. That's what I'd call it, where your attributes are these circles, and you have diamonds for relationships. If someone's more comfortable with this, because they've done databases, not from me last semester, but how to convert an ER diagram to a relational database. So that's what we did, where you take and you make every entity becomes a table, and then you map the relationships. This is an article that tells how to do all that. Again, it's using the traditional notation, but it's the same idea. Plus, I mean, you can Google. There's also materials in the book about all of this, chapter 7 and chapter 9. So that's due Thursday at midnight. So if you haven't started, try to start by Thursday at class so that if you have questions, I can answer them. So Amber, I told everyone I created homework 6 and put the wiki page in there. So all right, awesome. Double, triple.
Did you know that you graded homework?
I thought I still had to grade homework 5, and then I looked at it, I was like, wait a second, I already graded these like a long time ago. So I am on top of it this semester.
Are you sure?
I had a lot better than I was last semester. I was like treading water for a lot of last semester. So
How's Aaron's test
I haven't looked at it for like 2 weeks.
He's like, man, just give him.
Were you here for Aaron's?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Just give him a beat.
I don't know. I just need to go through it. I should do that tonight. It's one of those things you just procrastinate because I really don't want to do it.
I was gonna say, so I never,
Homework, yeah.
Yeah.
did you ever actually get it to accept it, or?
No. I basically gotten to the point that the only way I think I could get it to go through would be if I had database access and I could go change the records directly. Because I found help things for how to do it, but I don't have access to the database, and I don't even know that anyone necessarily does at the university because it's hosted off-site, I think.
I thought the university bought the associate here.
I don't know.
I thought Tom was saying that one day in class. That
Maybe.
they did own it.
when we went to Moodle from Blackboard, and maybe this isn't what happened, but part of the reason was because then they didn't have to host it. They were going to pay Moodle Rooms to host it, but maybe we ended up just hosting it.
And I said, like Tom said something about one day, but I was gonna say Tom.
Because we hosted Blackboard.
Yeah, I know that.
I don't know. I was on the committee to decide what we were going to use, Blackboard to Moodle, but I wasn't there long enough to see the decision made. Just the discussion of why we would go. There was other systems in consideration. But
When I used Moodle, my wife's like, why don't you guys use Blackboard?
Don't we still use Blackboard for something? Like, I did something the other day.
Blackboard Connect or something is still
Yeah,
out
like
there. I
I
don't
did
know.
something that it came up Blackboard. I was like,
Oh, it's something to do with the like U-Money.
yeah, maybe that's what it
It's
is.
something to do with that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was using it. It came up like Blackboard. I was like, I don't think we use that anymore.
For one of my classes at high school, we use outside curriculum. They use Canvas, so it's like another system I have to use. So Thursday, homework 8 will come out. That will be due the third, and it'll be due midnight the week after spring break. So if you don't start it at all until after spring break, you'd still be fine. If you want to just get it done with.
We all know that's exactly what's going to
But
happen.
I'm hoping I'm not gonna have internet connection anywhere I go
Yeah.
in spring break.
So yeah, I'm planning it so that I'm not expecting that you spend any time on it unless you just are bored and you want to. You'll be working, so it doesn't really make much difference.
They're like, can you work full time this week?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm even this week telling my work off on.
I'll be on a bus to Calgary with 25 high school
I'll
boys.
just sit
So
this far away from my 44 inch
I'm gonna be in the Grand Canyon for a week and then shooting for 3 days.
So-
in the Grand Canyon.
No, I got this big sport place competition in Arizona.
nice. So the first part of that homework is going to be to prototype your system using an as of yet determined tool that I will recommend. I will probably be open if you really want to use something else, but
I already put mine up on GitHub. I'm prototype up one.
like a mock-up of the screens,
Well, no, I mean just
you just coded it.
yeah.
Okay. That's what I was going to, that will be one option is you just code it and don't necessarily make it all work, but just code the layout of your key screens.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Or do a mock-up using one of the tools. It'll be a wireframe mock-up. That'll be the first part. The second part will be to cultivate your backlog and plan your first sprint. So you'll organize your user stories. I think a lot of you already have from, I kind of said to before, most important to least. You'll take your first sprint, which I'll have details in the homework. I'm going to define what you think you can get done from that Thursday after spring break till the next Thursday, a week sprint. We'll have time for 4 or 5 one-week sprints. So you know the steps. You'll take however many user stories you think you can tackle, 1, 2, 3, maybe 5, just depends. You'll break those down in Taiga into tasks, and I'll show you how to do that because the user stories are user focused, but the reality is there's tasks that you need to do to make those work. So you want to, I'm going to create my database. I'm going to write a query to do this, like the actual steps to get there. And then, that'll be a week, and then it'll be the next thing. Plan your next sprint. We'll sprint for those 4 weeks until the finals week. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll actually have time for 4.5-ish sprints until finals, towards the latter part of finals week, and then I've said this a bunch of times, I'll say it again, our final will not be the final time. We'll, as a group, decide on a later day in that week, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, a time that works for us to do presentations to each other. So I think I can do a poll, or I can do a doodle poll, or I think Google can do polls that we can just kind of vote and see which one works the best. So I'm going to talk about prototyping and lecture a little bit on Thursday and then go over the specifics of that homework. I don't really have any, I didn't want to cover new content today, so if you have questions or things that you want me to talk to you about for this homework 7 or things on the feedback I gave you on homework 6, we can do that now. All right, any questions for the greater good to go onto the YouTube? All right, you fare well on the YouTube.